The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. On leaving the synagogue, Jesus entered the house of Simon and Andrew with James and John. Simon's mother-in-law lay sick with a fever. They immediately told him about her. He approached, grasped her hand, and helped her up. Then the fever left her, and she waited on them. When it was evening after sunset, they brought to him all who were ill or possessed by demons. The whole town was gathered at the door. He cured many who were sick with various diseases, and he drove out many demons, not permitting them to speak because they knew him. Rising very early before dawn, he left and went off to a deserted place where he prayed. Simon and those who were with him pursued him and don't find him. He said, "Everyone is looking for you." He told them, "Let us go on to the nearby villages, that I may preach there also. For this purpose have I come." So he went into their synagogues, preaching and driving out demons throughout the whole Galilee. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord.
So all along these Sundays, we are just reading the first chapter of the Gospel of Mark. Today, 10 verses from 29 to 39. So Jesus is right after just leaving the synagogue, which we read about last Sunday, you remember, where he cast out the demon from that man shouting in the synagogue. And just out of the synagogue, in front of him, only maybe less than 100 steps, that is the house of Peter. If you go to Capernaum today, when you enter the town, well, first of all, you'll see a sign saying, "The town of Jesus." Then, you go in the synagogue, which is in the town center. There is no roof any longer. Then you go out of the synagogue. There is a short path, and there is the house of Peter. No roof there also, either. But they built a boat on top of it, big boat, because he was a fisherman, right? And you get into the boat, and there is glass beneath, so you can see actually the house where Jesus was, with Simon, with Andrew, the two brothers, and then also John and James came, the first 4 disciples. He had just called them. It happened a few days before that. And, after maybe 30, 40 years that thing happened, Mark, the writer of the Gospel, still remembers, and he writes about the fever of the mother-in-law. Why? Why? To cure a fever is not that great miracle, because that day Jesus is about to run many more and bigger miracles, because that night all the town they will be all gathered around the house of Peter, bringing people, and Jesus will be working miracles and miracles. So why the fever of the mother-in-law is so important? Is it only because Jesus was so kind to cure the mother-in-law of Peter? Or maybe there is some other meaning? Well, let's see the situation. The situation is not a good one. Because yes, Jesus is coming. They are happy that Jesus is coming, of course. But Jesus is coming to do something that maybe they don't like. Because Jesus just said that Peter must leave. Kanye, how many years with your husband, Leo? Together? How many years? It's a question.
57.
57. So you imagine that after 2 years of being together, so 55 years ago, Jesus will come to you and say, you know, Leo must come with me to follow me. Imagine your mother, the reaction of your mother. In a society, Israel, where all the widows were like cursed women, because they were condemned to starve. No husband, no bread. That is what it was. You know, in the Old Testament, well, there are several important women. There are 5 women who are named by Matthew at the beginning of the Gospel, and the list, the genealogy of Jesus. He names 5 women. One of those is Ruth. And Ruth is a woman that loses her husband. And when her husband dies, she is with her mother-in-law. And the mother-in-law, Noemi, she is telling her, you know, you're a foreign girl. Why don't you go back to your people? Because I have nothing to give you. I have no husband myself. What can we do? 2 women, no? The 2 of us. And Ruth says, I'd rather starving, but I will never leave you. And so yes, we know that after all, they will meet Boaz. Boaz is a man who will marry Ruth. And the genealogy of Jesus passed through Ruth and Boaz. This is just to say that without husband, it's desperation in Israel. That's why widows and orphans in the Bible are protected by Yahweh himself. Why? Because nobody is protecting them. And if you do something good to a widow or to an orphan, Yahweh will bless you. Because He is taking care of them. This is the situation that Jesus is facing in the house of Peter. And maybe this is why the mother-in-law of Peter has the fever. She got the fever because she got too much concern. Who will take care of us? Where are you going? What is this craziness about announcing the gospel? Fisher of men. What does it mean? We can imagine all these questions, all this quarreling in the house of Peter. And so they got the chance that finally Jesus is in Capernaum. He is at the synagogue. And then he is able to enter the house of Peter. The house of Peter. You know, I said that today you go there in Capernaum and you see this house, and on top of it this big boat, like an ark, like the Ark of Noah. Not a simple boat, a big one. Like as if the house of Peter, you know, the Pope, the house of Peter is like the symbol of the church. And yes, inside of the church there is this disease. Still, today, always. Which disease? The disease of believing in Jesus, but not totally. Yes, I accept Jesus. We all accept Jesus. We all believe in Jesus. But maybe we like 90% of what He says, but not 100%. There is something that Jesus is asking from us that might be too much. Yes, I like the message of Jesus. Sometimes it seems that he's asking from me something that I don't want. Just like the mother-in-law of Jesus, who is only looking at desperation because she's scared. And what happens? Jesus approaches her, he grasps her hand, and then he lifts her up. He's not saying any word, but he's like telling her, don't worry about your son-in-law to leave you. I will take care of you. God will take care of you. Providence will take care of you. So, she starts serving on them. She starts waiting on them. Well, it doesn't mean that they didn't have anybody to take care of them, because there was still the wife of Peter. Maybe she was there. But by saying that the mother-in-law was serving them, it means that she was no longer, as I see, she was no longer angry. She was no longer scared. That disease, that fever, that fear was like disappeared because she was serving Jesus. And then, when this miracle happens in the church itself, where there is this fear of following fully Jesus, we all have this fear of following fully Jesus. When this fear disappears, he is healed by Jesus. What happens? It happens that this healing is like a fount for everybody. In fact, that day, it was a Sabbath. In fact, Jesus went to the synagogue. And what happens during Sabbath? That nobody is allowed to go anywhere but at the synagogue. And when they are done at the synagogue, everybody needs to go home. You cannot go to the market. You go home because it's Sabbath. You cannot even walk outside. So everybody is staying home until 5 p.m. Because 5 p.m. is the end of the day. It's already starting being darkness. It's the sunset coming. And so here Mark says that at the sunset, people left their home and they went to where Jesus was, in the house of Peter, in the church. They left their houses at the end of a day in darkness. They left their darkness going toward that house where there is the light. Why we need the light? Because we are coming from the darkness. So they brought, Mark says, they brought the sick people they had at home. They brought their problems, their troubles. They brought their sins. They brought their demons. They brought their desperation. They brought what makes me think that my day is done. What means that there is something that makes me think that my day is finished, that my life is finished. When there is something bad that happens in your life, it may happen. I can make a list of it. When somebody betrays you, maybe your husband, your wife betrays you, you may think that your life is ruined and your day is done. Or when, for one reason or another, you commit an abortion, then you think that now there is nothing that you can buy it. Your life is ruined. Or when your good friend that you were relying on him and is lying to you, is disappointing you. And you say, no, there is nothing that we can buy. We can do about it. There are so many situations that make us think, even some death. It may make you think that there is nothing that you can do about it. You lose your hope, you lose your peace, you lose your light. So you need somebody that gives that back to you. That walk you out from that fear. Just like the mother-in-law of Peter, who thought that now, for us, there is only desperation. It's not the end of the day. There is a new day coming. So the day, it was a Sabbath. The day after Sabbath is Sunday. Is the day of the light. Is the day of a new hope. It's not true that you are hopeless. It's not true that your life is ruined. Whatever happened, it's not true that your life ended. It's not true that there is no happiness for you. It's not true. If only you go to the church, but not any church, a healed church. I'm not saying Catholic, Protestant, I'm not saying this. I'm saying a healed church. A church that is fully believing that Jesus can do this, can work this miracle. A church that totally surrendered to the love of Jesus. That is not afraid of following Jesus. That has no holdouts in doing what He's asking from us. Because Jesus is not asking from us nothing for Him. He's only asking from us what is good for us. What we need for us. This is what He's asking. And everybody knows. If only you look inside of yourself, you will know that. We know exactly what Jesus wants from us. It takes you know how long? 10 seconds of silence. 10 seconds. Look inside of yourself. And you will know exactly what Jesus is asking from you. If you will have the strength to do it, you will see that will be so liberating for you. And you will find back the light. You will find back the peace. You will find new hope, the one that we need to believe that our life is not ended, but it's only the beginning. If only you believe, totally believe in Jesus.